Hello and welcome back to the channel. I just got done making our shipping container home, which is this one right here, and I realized I have plenty of time to film a second episode, so I think I'm going to try and get ahead this week. Woohoo! So I was going to use this lot right here, this little $2,000 lot, and build our tiny home. This one is going to be for two adults and a cat. I'm looking to build it for 15,000 or less because I was trying to go with kind of smaller budgets for the tiny house and the shipping container house. So, with that in mind, I plan on doing 15,000 for the tiny house. I figured it might cost a little bit more because I was going to try and do like some shingles and stuff. This is the brownstone that I built off camera. It's kind of the more expensive New York City brownstone. Um, I think it's like 67,000 or something like that is what that ended up being. So I just kind of, I didn't know how the style and stuff for that was going to go. So I went ahead and played around with it with one that I knew I was not going to film.
So anyway, moving into what I'm doing here, I'm just kind of looking at the different terrain paints that I can use to try and find one that I like for like an entryway to the tiny house. I kind of liked the idea of using something like that, but then I really felt like that was more appropriate for like the Victorian house I'm going to build. Kind of the stone pathways, they look nice in theory, but I don't know. I feel like gravel is a little more tiny housey, maybe. I don't know. It was really hard to decide what I wanted to do here. I was trying different, like, these are stone circles that are in the rug section, but are not actually rugs. Um, so yeah, I tried some different things. I ended up going with these because I liked the look of it and I thought it was really fitting with what I was trying to do here. So it had kind of that quirky feel. Um, Now I am looking at wall tools for way too long. Alright, and oh, I remember why it took so long. Sorry, I'm doing a voiceover after the fact because when I speed up the video so that this isn't horribly tedious to watch, obviously I lose all of my comments. Anyway, I was trying to figure out again how many feet I thought were in a square. So that's why there was a pause there. I went with the medium height on the walls just because I feel like tiny homes usually have more vaulted ceilings just because the lack of physical square footage on the floor. I think they really try and make up with the vaulted ceilings and the lofts and things like that. And I wanted to try and capture that feel a little bit in this tiny house, even though obviously I wouldn't have like lofted bunks and stuff like you would normally find in one in real life. I think here I was toying with the idea of like a fence or something. Or maybe it was just, I think I was trying to get the mailbox closer to the front door. I didn't like that it had to be off to the side like that. Um, so yeah, that's what that was. Sorry, that was an alarm I have set for when our store closes, but we are definitely not closing right now. There's about 15 people out front still. Anyway, so now I'm trying to pick a trash can that I like for at the curb that I felt like would fit with kind of that tiny house feel again. I was trying some stuff that was maybe a little bit more rustic or something that looked more like what you would see on a street instead of um, like the regular bins that you see at normal addresses, because obviously tiny houses don't have that same feel. This is me playing with some of those really big windows. One thing that I noticed, I recently went to a tiny house show because we're looking at eventually building one for my mother. a lot of them have just giant windows, again, to try and like make the space feel bigger. So I started playing around with maybe some larger windows that would kind of open up the space and bring more light in. So this is me just kind of playing around, seeing what I like and what I don't. Uh, Also, I think at some point I start playing around with colors too. Uh, Bringing in the back of the house because I realized it was just way too big to be a tiny house, because I think I had it almost double that width. So yeah, just kind of bringing stuff in when I realized how small these windows were compared to the space inside the home. So I just used the same window all the way around, and I added some privacy windows in the area that will eventually be the bathroom, and I think I removed that window that's in between them. Now I'm just kind of playing around with flooring. A lot of the tiny houses kind of have that like laminate fake wood flooring, so I went with kind of a fakey wood. Um, I think I've already done white shingles on the outside of the house at this point, and I believe I go with that same texture inside the house as well. And now I'm doing the roof, just trying to go with something that feels tiny house-ish to me. But I realized later on, I think, that I actually want it to extend out the back of the house. Oh, here we go. This is me realizing it. I wanted to give the house a little bit of a porch, so I went with this kind so that later on I could kind of extend it out and create that outdoor space as well. So I'm just kind of playing again with the adjustments of like the pitch and everything. Um, Having a hard time getting it to do what I want. And as always, hating all of the rooftop options because it annoys me that it looks black when you're in the menu, but then when you put it on the house, it looks gray. I was trying to go with like kind of a black and white theme with all of this, which is why you see me changing the windows and the door and everything. And was trying to have kind of the roof match that. But of course, the roof always comes out a little bit more gray than black, so whatever. On to the kitchen. And just putting in some different appliances, trying different countertops, trying to find something I like and feel like fits with that kind of like tiny home feel, but isn't gonna break the bank. uh, yeah, so this is just me. I was thinking about doing overhead cupboards because, you know, you optimize space a lot in an actual tiny home. So I was like, oh, let me look at that. But I decided I just really didn't like it. I did like this table though, and I thought it would be a good one for indoor or outdoor. Because one thing I did want to do with this build was create an outdoor space that would kind of be where they could have additional living space, not just in, you know, the interior of the home, because again, that's a huge part of like the tiny house movement and tiny house living. So I'm also putting in some stuff for the cats because this is a house for 2 adults and a cat. And I've got the bed in there now too, and I've just done the outline for what will eventually be the bathroom. I went with kind of a clear glass door, partially because it was cheap, but also because I felt like it was pretty fitting with the theme of tiny house. Here I'm just playing with some different windows to see if I like them more. I think I end up exactly where I started. I go through and I put in all black windows thinking that I will like it with the door. I think I switch back to white after all this work because of course I did. Anyway, but I've got the couch and TV in there now. Again, just optimizing those little corners that you find in a home that's so small. I also try to go with really cheap lighting. That's actually like a security floodlight, I think, that I put in the bathroom, but it lit it really well and brightly for the amount of space it was. And then that was me switching out the shower for something that had a little more color to it. Now I'm playing around with positioning because I really didn't like that you could see everything that was in the bathroom through the door. So I was trying to position things a little bit better so you couldn't see like the shower or the toilet. Anyway, ridiculous things Sims don't care about. Putting in a nice deep sink, looking at lighting for the other rooms because obviously lighting's important, but you want to go cheap and less, and I ended up taking out that floodlight and leaving in just a matching piece with all the other pieces in the house so that it had more flow. Putting on a back door so that I can create that outdoor space that I was talking about. Continuing that same kind of laminate wood out as like the porch, quote unquote. Playing around with some other windows, realizing no, putting in some columns that will support that roof extension, and yeah, so there's the roof extension finally. And actually where this house is positioned, they don't even really need that much of a roof extension. I could have made it like half as big. Oh, I realized I didn't have a litter pan yet or any toys for the cat, so I went back in and did that because I realized I was still pretty under budget. So using that, I think it's the same little sconce that I used in the shipping crate house on a very similar table and chairs, if not exactly identical. And then now I'm throwing in some like little pots for them to grow stuff. I wanted an outside like bonfire area that they could move those chairs outside and sit around and enjoy a fire pit. Yeah, just little finishing touches at this point. I don't love that I left the litter box right there under the television, but that's okay. When I go to play with this, I can always move it, right? Just repositioning things in the kitchen. I think I was trying to get the sink under the window because that's like a personal thing that I like, that, or I was trying to get it away from in front of the window. The type of windows I installed are really tall, so I may have been like, no. So anyway, playing around again with the bed because I had some extra funds, seeing if I can get them something with higher statistics kind of a deal, and I ended up switching it out for exactly the same thing but in a different color, or the same color. It looks the same to me, but I'm looking at a kind of grainy version. So this is just me looking around, I think, for decor stuff that would add to, I don't know, the ambiance. Looking at other fire pits, realizing they're way too expensive, can't do that. Getting rid of some of the lights and stuff, trying to make room in my budget for a different fire pit. I am never able to do that, so the fire pit you see is the fire pit they get. And yeah, this is me just starting to put some of the stuff I actually liked back into the house because I realized those cost-saving measures would not be enough. I did, however, sell the animal toy box and get some just cat-specific toys because I realized the pet toy box comes with a bunch of stuff for like dogs that the cats would never use. So yeah, getting some additional cat stuff, like scratching posts and all that kind of fun stuff. And I put that scratching post next to the couch in hopes that it would keep the cats from scratching the couch. This is where I have a giant debate with myself about what the difference is between those two cat trees, and its price is the answer. So I sold the more expensive cat tree that I had for the cheaper one, and then I believe I switched back. So yeah, this is the house from outside. I know, yeah, I was gonna say, I know I added at least one other little planter out back. So this is me doing final touch-ups of just, again, trying to find decor stuff, selling that more expensive cat tower for the cheaper one, moving the planters around. I think I tried to add a third, yeah, and then it was too expensive.
Right. So there we go. That's our little house. Our 2 little planters. Our cute little front. Let me Yeah, no. I need to leave everything alone. Except for maybe this roof. What do I have on there right now? That is the black one, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. So let's pick traits. Let's say this is, why can't it be cat friendly? So you make a house dog friendly but not cat friendly? That seems unfair. Let's do homey. Natural light. And sunny aspect. Let's do sunny aspect. So I think those are good ones. This is our little 1-bedroom, 1-bath house. Woohoo! Done and done. Save and go to manage worlds. So we'll get a look at it from out in the neighborhood before we sign off for the day and see where it fits in with everything else. So to me, I don't know that I would call this a tiny house per se. Like it definitely is a tiny house in the sense that like it's smaller than an average house would be, even a Sims house. But I don't know that I would call this a tiny house. Because if you look at it, like, look at that next to that. It looks giant. Anyway. But anyway, there's our little tiny house. It's just under $1,500. It's got room for 2 adults and a cat. So yeah, that is our tiny home. I hope you enjoyed watching this. I definitely had a fun time making it. So, let me know in the comments down below if there's any other kinds of houses you're interested in seeing me do. The ones I have left on my list are like a super ultra modern home that'll be like kind of sci-fi inspired, a Victorian home, another New York City brownstone that I plan on building right here next to the one I've already built, but that one will be a $30,000 or less one, whereas this one's like almost $68,000. And then I also have, I think, a shotgun style house. That's another one I want to make. Kind of that Texas long skinny house that you see on like oh, I can't think of the name of the show right now. Fixer Upper. There we go. The kind of shotgun houses you see sometimes on Fixer Upper, because I just fascinated by those. The idea of like a house that is the width of the room fascinates me. So anyway, those are ones I have coming up. If you can think of anything else you'd like to see, please let me know in the comments, like I said, and I'll do my best to accommodate. I will see you all next time. Bye.